When you watch Cobweb, the first thing that stands out is how much this movie loves Halloween. Spooky and cozy fall imagery is everywhere, with pumpkins, witches, pumpkins, trick-or-treaters, pumpkins, voices calling out to you in the middle of the night, and especially pumpkins. It's a comfortable setting, giving the small town an eerie but familiar feeling, bringing us right back to the time when we were kids, living the few days just before the spookiest holiday. This embrace of Halloween is the perfect vessel to deliver a story of childhood fears and suspicions and ever-growing unease, because especially as the days begin to grow shorter and colder, it's easy to allow your mind to roam, and with this, some seemingly silly questions can begin to surface. Questions like, are the noises in the walls coming from rats or something else? Why is Dad standing in the corner of the room like that? Why does the bear have human teeth? What's buried in the garden? And why is the basement door hidden behind the refrigerator? The one thing that is perfectly clear is that something is wrong, but whether it's the delusions of a troubled kid or something else is an entirely different question. And this is the story of Cobweb, a question-filled horror thriller, and what I would call the best Halloween movie of 2023. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Mostly, we follow a boy named Peter. He's a loner and all-around troubled kid played by Woody Norman.
But maybe we could carve a pumpkin.
Because of his social awkwardness, Peter is bullied at school, coming home with scrapes and bruises, and causing him to have night terrors and an overactive imagination. The main bully is a boy named Brian, but we'll talk about him a bit later. Peter's awkward nature comes fully from his parents. His mother, played by Lizzie Kaplan,
Pumpkin. For our pumpkin.
And his father, played by Anthony Starr.
You have to make tough decisions to protect your family.
Are incredibly overprotective and act really strange at times. They helicopter over Peter's struggles and worries, but tend to rationalize them and berate him when his fears don't just dissipate.
Peter!
I really hurt her!
No, you did not! No!
The only comfort Peter finds is from his new teacher, Miss Devine, played by Cleopatra Coleman.
I look forward to getting to know each and every one of you.
Miss Devine takes to Peter instantly, seeing sure signs that he's in a dark place and could use a friend or a true protector. She's the only one that can see how strange things are in Peter's life, and she constantly offers her time to try and give him the guidance and help that he needs. Despite this, Peter's life seems to be drifting in a downward spiral, but he thinks that he might have a way out when he hears something in the middle of the night. Peter hears a strange noise coming from inside his bedroom wall.
Oh, hello there.
At first, it's only a rhythmic tapping, but when he taps back, the voice of a young girl calls out to him and begs for help. Peter tells his father about the voice, and he assumes that it must just be rats. They spend the afternoon putting rat poison along the walls.
Smells like cinnamon.
Well, be careful. Not everything's as sweet as it seems.
When he tells his mother about the voice, she gets irrationally angry and shouts that there is no one in the walls and it's all in Peter's head. But despite the rat poison and the screams, the voice speaks again that night. Over the course of a few nights, Peter and the voice develop a friendship. Peter tells her all about his time at school and his bully problems, and the fact that he doesn't have any friends, and it's clear that he's beginning to rely on the voice for his only source of comfort while at home. One day, Brian the bully trips Peter and smashes his pumpkin. The voice instructs Peter not to let things go further with the bully. She says that he needs to do something to make Brian stop, something that will make him afraid of Peter. And the following day, Peter pushes Brian down the stairs at school and breaks the boy's leg. This gets Peter expelled from school and, even worse, gets him grounded at home.
You're grounded.
Okay, Peter, go to your room.
No, no, no! Carol, he's grounded!
Dad pulls the refrigerator from the wall and uncovers a secret door to the house's basement. For his punishment, Peter is left alone in the basement and told to think about what he's done and how he can make things right. Peter calls out for the voice, but she doesn't seem to hear him, so he is truly alone in the dark. While in the basement, Peter discovers a large pit with a barred top and chains that are bolted into the floor. The only thing inside the pit is a stuffed bear with human-like teeth. After a few days, Peter's grounding is over. His mother comes down the stairs with candles and cupcakes to celebrate, and invites Peter back upstairs, but it's clear that the parents are hiding something, and Peter begins to think that his mom and dad are evil. Something is definitely off about Peter's parents. They're irrational and strict and are incredibly secretive in most interactions that we see. When Miss Devine comes over to visit, Dad seems kind at first, but as the teacher asks more and more questions, his patience seems to run thin, and we get the sense that he's ready to shut the teacher up in any way possible. Of course, he never allows that urge to surface, but Miss Devine runs from the house due to her sense of his potential violence. Mom is a bit different. She tries to be comforting but fails entirely, as her anxious, uncertain nature always creeps up when she speaks. It's clear that whatever secret she and Dad are hiding is eating at her, and it's ready to burst to the surface at any moment. But it's not just their attitudes that gives us the conclusion that the parents must be evil. In many scenes, we see odd scars on their hands, and in one instance, we see Dad has a new, freshly bleeding wound on his forearm. Of course, we've also seen how they treat their groundings, and the fact that they have a basement hidden behind the fridge makes Peter realize that the girl in the walls is most likely not just a figment of his imagination. One night, Peter asks if he could possibly see the girl, and she tells him about a hole in the wall that she's been scratching. Between the flaps of wallpaper, Peter finds the hole, and when he looks inside, he can see the girl staring back at him. He finally asks who the girl is, and she tells him that she is Peter's sister, but one day Mom and Dad went crazy and locked her inside the walls, and she believes that they will be after Peter to give him the same treatment very soon. In a few conversations and news clips, we see that a girl went missing from the neighborhood on Halloween a few years ago. At first, it's assumed that this is the reason for Mom and Dad's odd behavior, and their over-the-top protectiveness, but as Peter speaks with the voice, it becomes clear that they may have actually had something to do with the disappearance. The girl in the walls tells Peter to go and dig in the garden to find what's buried there, and when he does, Peter uncovers a skull and the truth of where the missing girl is now. He immediately runs inside and calls Miss Devine for help, but his call is cut short when Mom catches him. She gets on the phone and explains that Peter is just shy and unsure of how to talk to anyone over the phone, and assures the teacher that everything is alright. Mom throws Peter into his room, but when she takes a closer look, she can see that the wallpaper is coming apart, and she sees the hole that the girl was speaking through.
What did she tell you?
Peter is left alone in his room, waiting for Dad to come home and give him his punishment. Oh, also, all of this is happening on Halloween.
They're going to kill us. Peter, you have to do something.
As the family sits down for dinner, everything seems fine. The slop that they're eating tastes great. The trick-or-treaters coming to their door is a bit annoying, but definitely doesn't ruin their lovely evening. And the swinging of the shed door is a comforting rhythm. Of course, everything isn't as it seems, and even though the slop is great, Dad notices that it tastes different and asks if Mom has added any.
Smell it.
It smells like cinnamon.
Dad looks at Peter in horror. He realizes that the shed door wasn't open when he left for work, and he sees that his son hasn't touched a single bite of his slop. He yells at Mom to call 911, knowing that Peter must have put rat poison inside of their soup. But it's far too late, as Dad begins to vomit before collapsing, dead. Peter runs for his room, but Mom grabs a knife and runs after him. She catches him, but the rat poison suddenly hits and she begins to vomit, allowing Peter a moment to push her. Mom falls down the stairs and lands on her knife, and Peter is suddenly an orphan. He grabs the keys from Mom and goes to where the voice told him he could find a hidden door behind the large clock in his parents' room. He unlocks the door and sets the girl from the walls free. At first, we only see the eyes and creature-like smile from Peter's sister, but as she crawls from behind the walls, her voice changes from the sweet-sounding girl that we've heard to that of a croaky and growling hag. We learn that the sister is named Sarah, and that she was the one who killed the girl who was buried in the garden. The unease and suspicion of Mom and Dad makes a lot more sense, as they weren't actually evil, but were trying to protect and care for their daughter, who was far more monstrous than human. And now Peter has released her, but it's clear that she isn't a friend to her younger brother. She chases Peter into his room and only stops trying to break his door down when the doorbell rings. Remember Brian? Well, he's got his older cousins together and decides that he wants to prank Peter and teach him a lesson. The boys all don animal masks and enter Peter's house. It seems that Sarah dragged the bodies of Mom and Dad away, so the boys never suspected what kind of nightmare they were walking into. We see Sarah climbing on the walls with her hair dragging behind her, dropping spiders everywhere she goes. The bullies begin to break things and wreck the house, but they begin to question where the owners are when they see the bloodstains from where Mom and Dad died just a bit earlier. Brian slips on some of the blood and causes a cabinet beneath the stairs to swing open, where he sees the disfigured corpse of Mom was stuffed, and then he begins to scream. Sarah picks off the bullies one by one, playing with them just long enough for them to believe that they have a chance at surviving, but never letting a single one of them exit the house. Peter can hear the screams of the bullies from where he's hiding beneath his bed, but it seems that his hiding place wasn't very secure as Sarah sits on the bed and speaks to him, before taunting him with a jack-o'-lantern stuffed with a bully's head. She grabs Peter and drags him into the walls before locking him inside and giving him a small taste of where she grew up. Miss Devine can't get Peter's call out of her head. So, in the night, she drives over to his house, where she sees the front door is open. When she enters, Sarah begins to attack her, but the teacher grabs a fire poker to defend herself and flees upstairs. She can hear Peter screaming for help inside the walls.
What the hell is that thing?
It's my sister.
But instead of going to the small, hidden door, she bashes the wall with the fire poker and carves an opening for Peter to escape through. They both run for the front door, but just as Miss Devine escapes, Peter is grabbed and dragged into the basement. Peter finds himself trapped inside the pit with Sarah, just a few inches from his face.
Not every child can be as perfect as you, Peter. I was just born this way.
Sarah climbs out to kill Miss Devine, but her hair dangles in the pit, and Peter grabs it and climbs out. Together, Peter and Miss Devine force Sarah into the pit and lock her inside. As the two leave the basement, Sarah calls out and taunts Peter, saying that she's never going to stop trying to hunt him down and kill him, saying that every time he thinks that he sees something in the middle of the night, it could be her, and saying that since he killed their mom and dad, he's a monster, just like her. The movie comes to an end on this statement, leaving us unsure if the threats will ever be realized, and unsure of Sarah and Peter's fate. Cobweb was a really fun watch, and had some really impactful and decent scares. The imagery throughout is comfy and cozy, but the atmosphere that the film builds is perfectly subtle in its terror. It was surprising to me that a lot of people didn't talk about this movie. But then I found out that it was released at the same time as both Barbie and Oppenheimer, so it makes a lot of sense that it didn't get the theatrical recognition that it may have deserved when going against those two movie giants, but I'm still confident to say that it's one of the best horror movies that we'll see in 2023. While the concepts of voices in the walls and monster siblings are things that we have seen in horror movies plenty of times, Cobweb is able to take these tropes and show them in unique and beautiful ways. The look of the film in general is incredibly pleasing, with shots that are well thought out and somewhat artsy without being distracting to the narrative or the true focus of the scenes. And the abundance of Halloween in every shot was great and really nice to look at. I had a lot of fun trying to predict the twists of the story and discover if Mom and Dad were actually evil or if the voice in the walls was tricking Peter, and the scene where Mom and Dad get poisoned had some great timings as all of the suspense culminated and they found their deaths imminent. And I think that the monster design is really cool as well. It almost felt Fae-like in its nature. Making Sarah act and climb like a spider and making her hair web-like and full of spiders as well was both scary and really clever, and it fit well with the themes of the web that she was spinning to get Peter to do whatever she asked. Overall, Cobweb was a great watch, and if you're looking for something scary that not a lot of people know about, I highly recommend it. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know your favorite horror movie of the year down in the comments below. But until next time, you all stay safe out there, and happy watching. Bye-bye.
You fucking